Good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. Fernando,
welcome to the show.
Today we have a product unboxing, review, first look, all those fun things. What are they? It is the Morel Hybrid Mk2 Mk2s. These are the brand new hybrid speakers from Morel. We're gonna open them up, we're gonna take a look, and in the end, we're gonna take a listen to them because we're gonna be putting them in a car. Let's get the top off, lay these things out, and we'll tell you all about them. When you pop the top off, the first thing you'll find is the owner's manual, which you can also download on their website. If you're thinking about getting these and you like a little bit more information, their owner's manual is extremely useful, so don't lose it if you do buy it. Thumbing through it real quick, of course it goes over all the parts you're going to have in your box. It talks about how to mount the tweeters, and then it talks about the passive crossover that is in this. If you're going to be running it passive, it explains how that's going to work, and if you're going to be using it active, it also tells you what crossover points you should be setting up on your amplifier. Talks about and gives you a visual on how the tweeter attenuation works. On the very back last page gives you all the parameters for your speakers. If you wanted to figure out your own crossover points, they're all here for you to have. It also goes into depth explaining all the features that the speaker has built into it. There's two pieces of foam in the box. Once they're removed, it gets you to this beautiful display of the speakers themselves. If you notice, one of the tweeters is missing out of this because we've already mounted it in the panel that it's going to be attached to. This is a G35, and it fit into the factory location very well. We'll show you more of that in a little bit. Inside the box, there are two passive crossovers, two mid-range, as well as two mid-bass. The main difference between the three-way set and the two-way set is these two mid-range and the three-way crossover as opposed to the two-way crossover. The drivers themselves are identical. This is the 6.5 mid-range that you get in both the two and the three-way set, and this is the tweeter you get in both the two-way and the three-way set. For this installation that we'll be showing you later, we're going to be doing a two-way set. We requested the three-way set so that we could talk about all the speakers though. The tweeter comes mounted in its flush ring already. That would be this piece right here. If you pull out this chunk of foam, you'll find a bag of parts. You'll find some angle mount adapter mounted up in the corner of the dash like this. On a side panel, you could swivel it. These little metal pieces here are for the mid-range. It has 3 holes already, but in some applications it may not be wide enough for what you're using it for. These are designed to snap onto it like this to give you a mount. If you have a 2-hole 3.5 up in your dash, you'd add 2 of them, and then you could put this into place and screw it down. There's 8 of them in the bag. These are the back mounts for the tweeters. These 2 holes here align with these 2 holes. It goes together like this. This is what will keep it lined up in place and from falling out of its mount. You have 3 other bags of various screws depending on the speaker that you're using. This bag here has screws with really small heads that are designed to work with the mid-range. This one has a bigger head. They also have locking terminals in there, and this is for the passive crossovers. There's some butyl goo. If you are going to be using these grills and you want to make sure they don't fall off, put the butyl into the cracks here, stick it on, and it'll hold the grill in place. There's 3 bags of slide-on speaker terminals. The small bag is for the tweeters. It has some insulated ends on it. The bigger terminals are for the mid-range and the mid-bass. How best to describe the hybrid speakers? Morel says it like this: embracing Morel's legacy craftsmanship, engineering, and innovation, the latest hybrid system defines an ever-evolving concept of high-fidelity speaker design. Now in their 5th generation, the new hybrids and hybrid Integra systems give a further refined listening experience, captivating you with the raw emotions of listening to live music. Their subtle balance of resolution, power, and efficiency has been further optimized to exceed expectations regardless of what genre of music you enjoy. Let's elaborate on that further and why it's called a hybrid and what each one of these speakers brings to the table in its uniqueness. Let's start with the 6.5 inch first. New to this 5th version of the speaker is this grill. grill. They've gone a little bit different. Most of the time, speaker manufacturers will put the logo here on the bottom. They've decided to move it up to the top. It's brushed aluminum. It looks really nice. But in doing so, they've incorporated this grill with the basket itself. It's not a three-piece system. It's attached. Removing the grill, we can take a better look at the speaker behind it. This is the MW6 Mark II, 6.5-inch mid-bass. They also make a 5-inch version of this same speaker. It has a 4-ohm load. The sensitivity is 91 dBs. Its frequency response is 35 to 3000. Power handling is 140 watts. One of the features unique to Morel is the size of their voice coils. The voice coil is an EVC 2.1-inch Hexatech coil. There's a lot of stuff that we just said there. Let's kind of break it down a little bit. EVC is a large, oversized voice coil. The magnet is moved to the inside of the voice coil, making it ultra efficient, powerful design with compact size. So when you're looking at this, this is not the magnet. The magnet is inside of that giant voice coil, which you can see here is this gold colored piece. Look how big it is. It's 2.1 inches. It's huge. Hexatech coil means that the windings for the voice coil are a hexagon, and then they're stacked on top of one another like bricks. This eliminates any gapping. It makes them nice and tight and very efficient. That magnet that's stuck inside of here, they use a ferrite together with a very powerful neomagnet. Combined, they create a compact, lightweight motor that is 4 times more powerful than the conventional design of the same size. It's a hybrid model, the name of the speaker, hybrid. It's a magnet structure that is like no other. As you can see, it's very compact and very small. This is a very lightweight speaker. The cone is a one-piece dampened polymer cone, or DPC. That means the cone and the dust cap are one piece to increase structural integrity and strength. The surround is made out of rubber. Basket is made out of an aluminum. This is the CDM700 mid-range. Ooh, look at that. And look how shallow that thing is. Why is it shallow like that? Because it's a big dome. It's like a giant tweeter. I mean, this is a tweeter. This is a giant dome. Let's learn about this. Naturally comes the grill that is part of the speaker itself. This is an aluminum mount for the speaker. It has that same silver trim around it that its Big Daddy, the 6.5 had. Has the Lotus style grill with the Morel logo in it. This is an 8-ohm speaker. Power handling on this is 100 watts. The sensitivity is 90 dBs. The frequency response is 600 to 6000. This uses the same Hexatech voice coil. The size is 2.125 inches, which is the size of the dome. The voice coil is this big. The magnet is a neodymium with a rear vent. Speaking of the rear vent, this uses a technology called CAR filter, or CAR. Stands for Controlled Acoustic Resistance. It improves the acoustic loading by controlling the airflow within the driver. This mimics the effect of a cabinet. This will improve the power handling by 30%. Don't remove this, whatever you do. It's not there for looks. The dome is made out of a silk material. The diameter is 3.5 inches, and the depth is 0.83 inches. So as you can see, this thing is almost put this on top of a dash. You just need a little bit of room here for air to come out for this to breathe. It has an attached wire for installation because it would be very difficult to obviously get terminals onto this. This is the MT300 tweeter that removes from its mount. It has that same Lotus style grill as the mid-range. It's just a lot more cuter because it's small. It has the Morel logo on it. Let's talk about the tweeter itself. As you can see, it's almost clear. Look at the dome. Oh yeah. It's 6 ohms. Power handling is 130 watts. Sensitivity is 93 dBs with a frequency response of 1600 to 25,000. The voice coil is a 1.25 inch Hexatech voice coil, and it uses a double neodymium magnet. There's 2 neodymium magnets stacked on top of one another in here. This guy right here, the dome, is a handcrafted AccuFlex silk soft dome, specifically engineered dampening compound applied to the soft domes of the tweeter. These materials create a diaphragm that exhibits controlled canceling breakup. AccuFlex. This leaves nothing but pure natural sound. Makes things sound like they're real, like they're really there. One of the things that you should take note of here when looking at tweeters, this has a frequency response of 16 to 25,000. The FS on this is 1200. When setting up a crossover, you typically double that, which we're going to get to in a minute. But just to jump the gun a little bit, if you double that, that means is this is going to play down to 2400. This has a huge range to it. And mount it up in the dash or up in the A-pillar, even in a two-way set, the amount of sound coming off of this tweeter is just breathtaking. To bring all these speakers together, that takes us to the last piece of the puzzle, the crossover. Morel makes some amazingly crafted passive crossovers. They are truly a work of art. I mean, look at this thing. It's freaking gorgeous, right? The three-way set crossover model number is the MXR304, and the two-way is the MXR240.4. Once removed, the default on both crossovers is 0 dB. On the three-way set, you have plus or minus 2. On the two-way set, you have plus or minus 3 dBs of attenuation. One of the things that Morel does that most manufacturers don't do is they tell us the crossover points that they've set up for their speakers. On the two-way set, the tweeter will play down to 2200 Hz at 12 dB. The mid-range is low pass at 2200 Hz at 18 dB. For this, the three-way, the tweeter plays down to that 2200 Hz at 6 dB. There's a band pass for the mid-range of 2200 to 500 Hz at 18 dB. And then for the woofer, we have a 500 Hz at 12 dB low pass. Keep in mind, on all of these, you will need a bottom for the mid-bass, this guy. It gives you a low pass to play up to. However, your amplifier or DSP will need to give you the high pass or the bottom for this speaker. When wiring up your passive crossover, make sure you pay attention to the side here, because it doesn't do the standard input, output, output, output. It's arranged a little bit differently, which is what gives this its unique look and optimizing the performance of it. Amp input is located here with negative and positive. Your woofer output is here, mid-range, tweeter. The two-way is similarly laid out. Now that we have a better understanding of this awesome set of speakers, just the technology behind it, it's hard to believe the amount of technology that goes into something as small as this little tweeter to make it sound so good. We're gonna put them into a car so that we can take a listen to them. For this installation, we'll be doing the two-way set. So we won't need this mid-range, we'll just need these two. We're also gonna be going full active. That means we won't need this passive crossover. That means we're gonna use this, the MW6 Mark II 6.5-inch mid-bass, along with the MT300 tweeter. One of the nice things about this tweeter is that it is a ton of sound, but it's a nice compact size with that dual Neo magnet on it. You really can't even tell. I mean, look how it's just small, it's compact, but it needs to go where this factory location is. We've already upgraded these from a previous install, and when you compare the two, this isn't that much bigger, but when you turn them on their side, yeah, this one is definitely a lot bigger speaker than this one. To mount these in place, we've come up with a 3-piece set comprised of an 1/8-inch piece of clear and 2 pieces of 1/4 inch. The dome sticks out very far, and I don't want to leave the grill on. I want to remove this because this already has a mesh on it, and I don't want to put mesh on mesh because you can see it could block some of the flow of the driver. That means I have to make sure that I keep this dome clear from touching this. That's where the bottom 1/4 inch spacer is going to come into place. The bracket that we've come up with is designed to have this, a bigger, more robust, that this is going to sit on top of, and then this sleeve here, which is going to hold it in place. These two half moons here and here are designed to line up along these two screw holes. Let's screw it together. We'll take a closer look at it. The first step is to slide these into the two speaker posts here. It's rather tight. The tweeter's almost as wide as these 2 points. As you can see on this one, it's super tiny. Once that's done, the tweeter will now sleeve into that mount. The last step is this clear locking ring. It's designed to go around the magnet and lock everything in, and we can put the factory screws back into place. And there is our tweeter mount. To listen to these speakers, we're gonna be putting them in the lab. What is the lab, you ask? It's this, Fernando's G35. We use this to test all our equipment. We can test amplifiers, we can test DSPs, and of course, we can test speakers. He's just finishing getting the first set mounted in the driver's door, so let's take a look. When adding a high-end driver like this to your door or any other, make sure you do the appropriate work, give it the best chance to sound amazing. In this case, add sound treatment to the door. door. Make it as rigid as possible. Add some kind of fastering to it so that when you put the door panel back on, all this sound comes in through the grill of the car. It forces that air in. You don't want it to roll off back into the door. You'll lose that precious mid bass. But don't stop here on the door panel itself. Make sure you also do the door card as well. This is just flimsy plastic. It's gonna rattle, it's gonna vibrate. Adding sound treatment to this, and especially around the area where the speaker is gonna be at, is very important. The hybrid mid bass is mounted into place. The tweeter is back up into its factory position. This is going to be an active system. We have a amplifier just for the tweeters and an amplifier just for the mid-range. Once Fernando gets done putting the other door together, we'll load into our DSP. For this, we're not going to be doing anything other than using the crossovers in the DSP. We're not going to EQ these. We're going to run them just as is out of the box. We just want to get initial impressions of these and see how they sound before equalization. And with the magic of you guys not having to wait because it's a video, Fernando just informed me that he is done and we can hop in and take a listen. When you hook up a set of speakers, the first thing you want to do is make sure you grab a polarity test, something like this, the PT9A, or any other polarity tester. You could use your phone and make sure that everything is moving in the right direction, or at least the direction you think they're supposed to be moving in. If you don't do this, you can have a very unpleasant experience. Let's take a listen. might be asking why we're listening to this type of music. It's DRM free, and I can play a longer version of it so that if you have headphones on, you can kind of get an idea of what it sounds like through this camera. We just wanted to hear a different, like, we want to hear some piano, we want to hear some guitar, we want to hear some drum, and there should be no reason why we can't sit in the car and get a first impression of them. We do that anytime we tune a car. We hop in, we see what they sound like. It gives us a good idea of where to go from there as far as the tuning aspect of it. What do you think, Fernando?
I like them. They're bright. I'm surprised.
There's a lot to this tweeter.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I really like the Morel tweeter. A lot of the times when you hear a tweeter, it's just there to do one thing. This tweeter is not. This tweeter is there to put out a lot of sound and just really complement that mid bass coming from the bottom of the door and just bring that sound stage up into the car and just make it sound so sweet. If you ever get the opportunity to hear some hybrids, whether it be these brand new Mark IIs or the previous generation, you will not be disappointed. Well, Fernando, we have a new set of speakers in the car. Next couple days, he'll be jamming on this, so if you're watching this video, make sure you ask him, you know, what do you think of him now that you've lived with him for a little while?
Yeah.
Going to the Morel side of life. We hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial, education, whatever you might want to call it, on the Morel hybrids. It's a phenomenal speaker. If you're looking for something, you might want to check these out. Fernando.
On to the next one, guys.
You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.